I think it's telling your truth and not telling someone else's truth, because like every person has a voice inside of them, and it's about listening to that voice and trying to express it outwards, especially if something like creativity is your outlet, like whether it's music, whether it's something, it's like instead of just copying something that you see or that it's cool, it's like, what's my truth and how can I scream that to the world? Like, what's my way of just like when I put something into a video project, it's like, I want this to just be an expression, this just like rage of like, this is my truth and what I'm saying, and I want to present this to the world.
Purpose in the youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. First podcast of 2019, the visual content creator himself, Mitchell Mullins. Welcome back to the content crib, my man.
Man, dude, I cannot get over your intro.
You like that?
Yeah,
it's
Bobbbaaaay.
Bobbbaaaay. I might
so much energy.
You know what? I might have to sell that as a ringtone, and that might be the best way to monetize my brand.
Every time you text me, I want that to go off on my
Bobbbaaaay. as you like your phone to the side,
yeah.
Bobbbaaaay.
Like, what's that?
What is that?
Purpose in the Youth. That's what that is.
It's a Purpose in the Youth podcast, baby. Man, thank you for coming into the studio today.
Of course, man, dude. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean,
we're kicking off strong.
We connected back in October.
We did.
You came through here. We literally sat down and had a very similar conversation as to what we're gonna get into today. But just kind of really paying attention to your work and deep diving a little bit more into your story. I was like, man, this is somebody that is clearly representing what this podcast is all about, and it seems like a no-brainer to me. And I'm excited to have you as literally the first. This is the first recording podcast of 2019 in here today, and you're crushing it. And I think this is going to be a really good conversation.
Yeah, man. I'm like, last time we talked, we went into like depths on everything.
Yeah,
like we literally met and just went deep.
Yeah,
for like 2 hours.
But that's why when you left, I was like, that is somebody that is super genuine, because when you can go that depth that quickly, like I think we got into some real serious stuff within like 10 minutes of you being here. And so that ends up being like a gauge for me of like, oh, this is what this person's all about. This isn't just like sugar coated. Their content actually is representing who they are as a person,
and vice versa. Because it's like, you sit down, and when you're able to be that open with someone, it's like, you know what they're about. You say the same thing back and forth, man.
Yeah, and it ends up being like a, how do I say this? It's like even those moments, I appreciate somebody opening up to me, because I know that they don't have to. And also I know that I can't take that for granted. Like some of the stories that they might open up on, like they're not telling random strangers that. And so it's like, if they're willing to open up on that level with me, I have to be respectful enough to at least listen and just take it for what it is, and just try to give my 2 cents on whatever I can to offer to them. Yeah.
And besides, like, even what we talked about, I left, I was like, man, I wish so many people could hear what we just talked about. Yeah. And it's like, I know we're going to go there. We're going to dive deep today. And like, I just know that people would use that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for today, baby. We're going to get into it. 2018, man, you spent 300 days on the road. You captured over 40 terabytes of footage, and you said it was a journey of pure personal growth and stacking clips. And in what ways do you think you growed in 2018?
Man, I mean, literally, I'm a completely different person from starting 2018. And I think that's been a theme every single year, but 2018 even more, just traveling and getting to see the world. Like, I've traveled before, like I've been to Europe and whatever, but like this time around, it was spending like a month or so in Africa. Like I got to see all of Asia, China, just going through Vietnam, or motorbikes in Vietnam, like Singapore. Man, I even did road trips with some friends in the States. Yeah. For the days I was home, I was road tripping. Wow. And man, it was just like, I don't know, it was really the people I talked with. Just getting to hear so many different perspectives is just something you don't find very often, especially when you're home. Like, you can meet and talk to a lot of people, but it's when you're meeting people all the time, every single day, and you get to sit down and go deep with someone and just get to hear their story and like what they're about, and then you just kind of like see everything. You kind of reflect it inside, and you're like, wow, like, do I believe what they say? Is this, that? And you kind of challenge everything you know or what you don't know, and you just grow from it. Like, it's just kind of thrown in this like blender of like the world and people and everything, and just literally creating content the whole way through, and just meeting some amazing people.
Did you ever find within those 300 days like a moment that you kind of felt like, am I doing the right things? Because you're such a go. And it's kind of like the conversation we were having before we started this. Like, has there ever been that moment of you questioning, like, is this the right path? Like, I'm not getting to see my family as much. I'm missing out on birthdays. Like, is there ever a moment within those 300 days where you're kind of questioning, is this the right decision?
100%. And I found, because it would happen, not say it happens so often, but a lot of times when I would start to question things or even let self-doubt in a little bit, it would be during some of the travel times when it was like, okay,
there's nothing going on.
Spending the night in an airport. Like, I haven't slept in a day. Like, okay, we have 2 days worth of flights. And then I think it was from reflection is when you kind of slow down a little bit. Like we were talking about earlier, you like let off the gas pedal a little, and it lets you reflect on what you've been doing. And so then sometimes those questions open up of like, is this right? Did I do the right thing? Like, where am I going? Like, is this worth it? Is all this whatever? And you just work through those problems in your head. And it's always just been growth coming on the outside of that. Just answering those, going, no, we did this for a reason. This aligns with our purpose, and we're moving forward with it.
And in those moments when you're actually creating and doing these things, I think you're in such like a high mode that you kind of just forget everything. But it is like you said, like take the foot off the gas. When nothing's happening and you're not actually in the process of running around, that's when I think you have these reflection moments of like, you have the conversation that you kind of need to have in order to continue to grow and to continue moving forward. Because otherwise things just kind of pass by and then you're like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, because, you know, like being on the road, it was like every day we're shooting. You know, it's like you're up for sunrise, you're up for sunrise. Like, you don't have time to think about it, but you just love it so much. And you're like, oh, I want to get this shot and this shot. And you're so stoked every day. And it's just like, that time just off. You're just, it's like, you know, you love it for that reason, but then you get to reflect and move forward with what you're doing.
Before we, I always like kind of jumping into a little something early just to give people a little taste of what we're going to dive into. But I think it's extremely important to kind of paint the picture of somebody's life before we really get into everything that you have going on today. Take me back to Nashville, Tennessee. That's where you're born and raised. What is this environment like for you growing up?
Growing up, you know, when I think back to my childhood, it is very creative, you know, which I guess reflects today, but it was
makes sense of why you are where you are today.
Then. It was, I have one younger brother, and he's 18 now. So he's like 2.5 years younger. And it was always him and I just growing up. It was like, we would just go outside. We go outside and play. We go jump on a trampoline, like run around the neighborhood, go biking. It was a very like free and just open creativity. Like we just come in and like build stuff with Legos. And that was just like early childhood, and always very creative. Like I was always drawing things, all that stuff. And then let's see, we ended up moving when I was about in middle school or right before middle school. Made an amazing group of friends, really nurtured through that. Just kind of grew socially, all those kind of things. You know, just going through middle school, high school, all those good things. I made a lot of friends. I was so fortunate enough to make a lot of creative friends who we spent a lot of time just going on photo shoots after school. It was like, that's what we did on the weekends.
Oh,
you know, it's
really?
Like,
so you guys are really getting after it young.
Oh, we're shooting, we're doing this. Oh, we're going to put out this video project, like all this stuff. It was like nonstop. Like, I mean, when summer came around or like winter break or something, it was like every single day.
So it was all you and your homies all had cameras. You guys were all just like shooting like a little production team.
Yeah, and even when we weren't, like some of the homies that didn't shoot or stuff, they're still creative. Like they're doing music, like all that stuff. So when we're all together, like we all got it. Wow. You know, we're just like, yo, we're going to do this. And that just like, just through that time, it was just pure like photo and all that stuff. And also going through high school, I was a gymnast, competitive gymnast.
Really?
So
that's pretty dope.
that took up a lot of time.
Yeah.
It was more from like middle school through like the middle of high school-ish, maybe junior year. So that took up a ton of time during my week, and then off times it was with friends and shooting.
What were you like? What was as a gymnast? What were you competing in? Is there any?
No.
Everything?
So you do all 6 events.
Wow.
So you just come in and you train for all of them, and then you have your competition season. But there's no like off season because you're training the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it was during like the springtime, you're actually competing, and it was like, you know, all this training every single day after school, and then it was like you drive to like North Carolina and go do something. It'd be like all weekend. So it's a lot.
You
of time,
realize, okay, I can't fully commit to this if I'm trying to work on something
else.
But
it taught me a ton about commitment and just like if you put your mind to something, like you can do something that you could have never conceived of.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, I didn't know I was able to do that. Like eventually something like being in gymnastics, it taught me like, if you just keep moving towards something, like all of a sudden your like highest level of like, oh wow, I wanted to do that. It all of a sudden just becomes the next logical step.
Yeah.
Like you just keep going. It makes sense.
I think that's what it's so important, the fact that you're growing up and you have a bunch of homies that are already creating, and you guys, whether they are photo people or they're making music, like just that energy at such a young age is priceless.
I'm
like
so grateful for it.
Clearly been a very important part to getting you to where you are today. Just
100%.
having that energy and having these people around you who are trying to create and do something that might not be normal, might not be the path that everyone else is kind of following.
Right.
At 11, going back to 11, I think that's when you kind of, when you really started to pick up a camera. You were filming your brother on a trampoline or something of that sort. What was it that excited you about having that camera, though? Like, what was the real passion behind it?
You know, I'm going to take it back, like, even further. Like, when I was, like, 6 or 7, like, my brother and I, we would always try to get, like, VHS camera or something. We were trying to, like, recreate the Star Wars movies.
Oh,
you know, like,
dope.
you're, like, opening up, like, Windows Movie Maker and, like, trying to, like, record our Nerf gun shooting or something.
Oh, my God.
And it was all, like, let's make movies. And then that just kind of fizzled out till I was about 11 or so. And I just remember coming home, and my brother was jumping on the trampoline, and I just picked up my dad's like iPhone 3GS, and I was like, let's make a video. And he's like, let's do it. And I got so stoked about it. I called it Trampoline Video 1, and it ended up making 11 of them, like, straight.
Oh, wow. So you were committed.
They're still up there on YouTube, yeah. And then from there, it's never stopped.
Wow.
It's just never stopped.
Just something little as just trying to recreate Star Wars was the true inspiration.
Yeah, man.
that's so epic. What was there any like personal challenges in your childhood, or anything that big struggles that you kind of faced or had to overcome?
Yeah, I definitely think I struggled a bit in high school, being I felt like I kind of grew into this passive character, where I was kind of I got a big anxiety, like social anxiety, you know, where you like go up and I always felt like people were judging me, or that I was like, I would get anxious in public. You know, I was scared to talk to people, all of that. And I mean, looking back, that was like 4 or 5 years ago, like made leaps and bounds out of that. Yeah. You know, just being like, I don't know, just super passive about everything.
What was it though? Like, was there like a moment that you did it? Like, what do you think was causing that? You just naturally just didn't like the whole being in groups of people, or?
I think it was insecurity.
Oh, okay.
Either, you know, growing up, I was always the short kid. I was always like one of the smallest in the class, always looked a lot younger. Not so much today, but I still feel like I seem, or like I look a bit younger than my age.
How old are you right now?
20.
Yeah, 20, okay.
20. So it's like, especially going through high school, when you look like you're kind of just coming out of middle school, that kind of does, you know, on your confidence, and you're a little bit shorter. People talk down to you a little bit more. It was something I never realized until a bit later, but I was like, looking back at it now, it's like, wow, that really did affect my confidence.
I had a low key chin strap ever since I was in like high school. So it was so like small though, but I like marinated. I was like, yeah, I got a beard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I was like, I'm old.
I'm like 16, but like people tell me I look 18. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I thought I was so cool. But then you get older and you're like, okay, that doesn't matter, and that really has nothing to do with anything in this world. It was back then. You felt
it meant
good.
A lot to you,
it meant
bro,
a lot,
you know?
dude. Anytime somebody would tell you, for me, it was like, oh, you look a couple years older. It's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I'm that guy.
I mean, yeah, I'm 25.
I wasn't Bobbbaaaay. I wasn't Bobbbaaaay at the time. I was just bearded Bobby, maybe. I wasn't even bearded Bobby. I was just whole nother character. Whole nother guy. Parents though, what was the biggest lesson that they taught you as a kid?
You know, I think the biggest lesson came through my father. I'll just take it back. When he was even growing up, he grew up in a bit of poverty.
In Nashville too?
No, he actually grew up in Miami and Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow, okay.
And his mom was working 5 jobs. They were always moving. Even going to college, he was working all these jobs, just trying to pay for it, just create a better life for himself. And growing up, he was working a corporate job at Kodak, and then moved over to Xerox. And he started investing in real estate properties, and like started buying properties and renting them out to tenants, and started slowly building up an income. And over like 15 to 20 years, like I literally just watched, like every weekend we would go work on the rental properties. It was like, all right, this weekend we're going to rake the yard, or like it's demo day. Like we get to go smash the walls. My brother and I grab sledgehammers, like, let's go. I'm so excited. You know, whatever. Day. But looking back at it, seeing my dad every single weekend work at it.
Yeah.
Just day in and day out. Like, he's a hard worker. He worked at home, so we always got to see him, but he worked really hard at it. And over the past couple years, he's gotten to a point where he was able to retire he's just a bit older than 50.
Wow.
And he's able to retire solely off of that.
Yeah.
And just seeing that come from like almost zero to everything.
Yeah.
That's been amazing.
Yeah. As kids, you guys aren't realizing what he's actually doing. You're just tagging along for the ride and helping out. And we're just going to check out this house and rake the leaves, do the demo. But then as you get older and you start to realize, oh, he wasn't just doing this for fun. Like, he was building his own miniature empire.
Yeah, because when you do it every weekend, you're like, oh, like that's just what we do. You know, we go rake the yard and clean it up and whatever. And then that, and on top of that, both my parents have been immensely supportive of everything. Like, even
for 20 and the amount that you travel, I would imagine they have to be supportive if you're out and about this much.
I was even, when I was home for the holidays, it's January right now.
Yeah.
I talked to my mom. I was like, I don't know how you did it, because my brother and I were both in gymnastics, doing crazy flips, all these things, and like, if I was her, I would have been scared out of my mind. Yeah. And my kids, like, every day they're like doing something risky, all this stuff, and then like I move out and going on all these trips, traveling to just all these foreign countries. I'm like, Mom, I don't know how you hold that together. Like, that's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just so supportive. They're like, we support you. We love what you're doing. Man, just
that's super important.
I couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, I mean, I could spend a whole podcast talking about that with same for myself. Like, just my parents have been very supportive, even for me graduating and launching this and getting into it. And they, at the time, they did not know what a podcast was, but they were fully behind me and said, do it. You know, as long as you figure it out, we'll be right here with you.
Especially with this film thing, they were like, we're not really sure what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you have a plan, we support you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I had asked the young Mitchell on high school graduation day, what's the next couple years looking like? What do you think you would have said?
College.
Yeah.
Definitely college. Everyone I knew was going to college. It was like, all right, which college are you going to? Like, what do you know, where are you going? Where are you touring? Like, do you have it all figured out yet? Like, all this stuff. And everyone I knew was going to a college.
Huh. And what was the game plan after you graduated? Did you end up going to school? I can't remember. I know we talked about that before.
Yeah.
You did? Was it community college or?
No, I ended up going to Savannah College of Art and Design.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to major in film.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to go get a film degree. And that, even at first, I was like, do I want to do film? Like, do I not want to do film? All this stuff. That was in and of itself a whole thing. But I ended up picking that I wanted to go to Savannah College of Art and Design just because it was a little bit closer to home.
Not too far.
Yeah.
But you're out of state. You're changing it up a little bit.
Yeah. It was, I get to grow through it. I get to chase film and do this. And I went to school that next fall, and it only lasted 6 months.
6 months. Is that more than a semester? It was like a semester and a half?
So it was funny how it worked there. It was on a quarter system.
Okay.
So you did, well, it's a quarter system, but you only did 3 quarters per year.
Oh, that's how UCLA is here.
Yeah. So I finished 2 of them, and they were in, because you started in like almost October.
Yeah.
And then I left in like February, March or something. So.
And how nervous were you leaving?
Leaving home?
Leaving school.
Oh, very. It was, when I was at school, I started to realize, I was like, okay, this is, I'm here, I'm trying to figure it out. But then all of a sudden I realized, like, what if this isn't worth it? Like, when there's money going into the school, like, attached with your name on it, you're like, whoa, like, I'm collecting debt for this.
Yeah.
Like, why am I here? Like, do I really enjoy this? And it really just wasn't clicking. And the film program there is great, but it wasn't the type of film I wanted to get into. It's a bit more like feature film, kind of short film kind of things. And I was like, this isn't what I expected.
Yeah.
And then I remember I talked to some friends and I saw their syllabus for like what they were going to learn like junior, senior year. And in my head, that related to like, okay, that's like 150, 200K debt. So you're like, okay, so what I'm going to learn there, is that worth that amount up front? And I remember looking at it, and they were just like setting up something on Red cameras. I just go to YouTube. I type it in. I'm like, it's right there. I watched a 13-minute video on how to do the setting. And I was like, okay, I think something could be different here.
Yeah.
And I remember I went home. I literally just drove home. I was like, guys, I'm coming home this weekend. And I sat down, talked to my parents. I was like, I just don't think this is the right option. I'm not exactly sure what I need to do, but I just don't think this is the right path, especially for, just film in general.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, they're like, okay, we support you, but
wow.
Figure out. I was like, all right, I need to leave. This is what I need to do.
So you leave school, and then what's the next step?
I leave school, and crazy enough, I had a friend who was he was living out of a van, just kind of driving around California. And I was like, you know what, man?
Jackson, right?
Jackson. My boy Jackson. Shout out Jackson.
We got to give him a shout out. Shout out to Jackson. Jackson Thomas.
He was out there.
And how did you know him?
We actually grew up 15 minutes apart. I didn't know him till like the very end of high school. We met through an Instagram DM. He was like, "Oh, hey, do you want to help me?"
Did he go to the
film
same high
something?"
school?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
but
he was like totally different.
Got you.
Different counties, but 15 minutes apart.
Okay.
And
it started in the Instagram DM.
Started in the Instagram
I
DM.
love
Every opportunity starts in the Instagram DM.
I love it.
Oh man, but yeah, he was in California. I was like, you know what? I need some headspace from this. The semester, the quarter's ending, and I booked a ticket out to California. Drove straight home. Unloaded all my stuff from the car, just literally threw it in my room.
Yeah.
And I laid down for 10 minutes. And I was like, all right, Mom, I got to go to the airport. And she took me to the airport. And I got on a flight. I like didn't sleep at all.
You're probably so excited that you probably couldn't sleep.
I couldn't. I was like blasting music the whole time. I was like, oh, I don't even know what this is or what we're doing.
Checking out my camera. I'm like,
what do I think we're going on a road trip or something. I don't know. Meet up with him there. We ended up road tripping for a little bit. And we ended up in Los Angeles after a couple weeks. And we ended up meeting some friends who had originally lived in Nashville. And we were talking with them. We stayed at their place. We ended up crashing for like 2 weeks on their couch.
Love it.
Oh, it's amazing. But we would get out every single day and go shoot. Made our way downtown. And every single night I remember going to bed. And I was like, a new opportunity has opened up here that I couldn't have thought of. And it was happening on the daily. We would just meet new people.
In LA specifically?
In LA specifically,
yeah.
And I was like, I need to be here.
Yeah.
I was like, I love the energy here. I love the people, creativity. I need to be here.
Would you guys just kind of go to different spots and start shooting and bump into other people? Like, where were the opportunities coming from?
Yeah, it was mainly through meeting other people.
Yeah.
So it was like we'd get groups together to go shoot, and then all of a sudden one person knows another. Oh, let's hang out. Let's do this. Or like we went downtown for like this Insta meet, met a bunch of people. I met some amazing friends. And just it's all grown through. It's like a tree, you know.
Yeah.
All the tree branches spread out.
These are big oak trees, man. You guys have built some oak trees out here.
So opportunities just compound.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow, it's crazy how you're dropping out. You don't know what you're gonna do next, so you just jump in on board with Jackson, start road tripping around, start meeting all these people, and then you're starting to probably realize like I could actually figure this out for myself, and this could actually.
And it's blurry at that time. You know, you're like, I know this feels like the right direction.
Yeah.
And it just feels right, but it's not clear.
Yeah.
You know, but you're still going towards it. Like, okay, confident.
So, you guys end up deciding you want to go home for I think it was Easter.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about a week or so leading up to April 13th. What's like you guys are in California and then you decide let's go home for Easter, let's surprise the parents.
We were in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It was more so for my family. His family was out, but we just wanted to head home. I mean, we'd been in California for like a full month.
Yeah.
Right. So we're getting a little tired, like sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the couch.
And you hadn't driven across the US either. You just flew out to meet him.
He had driven across the US originally.
Yeah.
But like besides that, we're just sleeping in Walmart parking lots because the van that we were traveling in, the back of it was a 15-passenger van. And the back of it was built out for camping. Like it had literally a mattress in the back, and underneath had tubs for all the camping gear and all that stuff. So it was like very mobile. You could go anywhere, really. Yeah. And we're just driving it everywhere. But we're like, you know what? I think it's time to head home. This is gonna be amazing. We're gonna drive all the way across the U.S. Like see the family. We'll tell them we'll get home a few days later than we're gonna get home.
They'll be super excited.
Easter weekend, all that good stuff. But on our way home. It didn't exactly go as planned. We didn't actually make it home together.
Yeah.
So what happened is we left Los Angeles. We said goodbye to our good friend Spencer. Let us stay for 2 weeks. And we started driving. It was amazing. We started just taking shifts on and off. You know,
so you guys just wanted to run and gun.
We're like,
through.
oh man, let's go. I mean, we're like used to it. We're just like driving all night to get to Joshua Tree. All this, you know, like we're just built that way. We're like, okay, on the road. And
on the road again.
Exactly. And so we started driving, and then one of the days Jackson wasn't feeling so well, and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna sleep in the back. Like, I'm just really tired. Wasn't feeling." I was like, "All right, sick." We were planning to drive through Zion that day. I was like, "All right, cool. I'll drive. You know, whatever." End up driving. Weird fun fact. I love driving. It's really weird. I love it. I like just let me.
It's
drive.
kind of a high, honestly. Like as long as you don't really mind it, you're just kind of open road. You just
it lets
go.
you think. I think it's good time
yes,
for reflection.
A lot of time to think.
Listening to good music.
You're talking
to the purpose of the youth if you want. I don't know. Little plug
right there.
But
subscribe, like, comment below.
Okay. No. So. Yeah, I literally drove an entire day. I drove through Zion. Jackson was still asleep. I was like, oh, man, he's not feeling good. But I'll just keep driving. It felt so good. And I drove for like 13 or 15 hours or something that day.
You're cruising.
Yeah, it was like a sunset. Driving through Utah was beautiful. And I remember we stopped. It was a gas station. Like, it was like 1 or 3 in the morning. And I was like, hey, bro, like, wake up. Like, you want to drive? He's like, I've driven all day. He's like, yeah, of course. I was like, oh, thanks, man. So we go inside, we get our coffee, we come out, we're like, oh, sick, like, all right, good luck driving, I'm going to sleep. And the whole time we're on the trip, I would never get in the back of the van. I was always sitting up front with a seatbelt, I'd always just sleep there, lean the seat back. I never wanted to, like, be without a seatbelt, just safety precautions, in general. And for some reason, right then, I was just like, oh, yeah, bro, I'm going to get in the back and just lay down on the bed while you drive. And he's like, all right, cool, that's fine. And we started driving, so this was like 1 or 3 a.m., and our plan was we're going to make it to an IHOP for breakfast. Get a bunch of coffee, just feeling good, all that stuff. We've just been eating IHOP. Really just stopping all the IHOPs.
Dude, you can't really beat it. Like, it's great food. Yeah, like you're just eating at any restaurant along the way.
And the time, I think I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was like, hey, bro, we're there yet? And he's like, oh, no, we're not there yet. I was like, all right, cool, I'll go back to bed. And I was asleep there in the back. And then all of a sudden, and the time exactly was 7:39 a.m. Sun is just coming up. I remember all of a sudden I just woke up hearing this massive screech and swerve, and we swerved really hard to the right. And the first thought that went through my head, I'm laying back on this bed, just still kind of asleep, like in sleep. So I'm like, what's going on? I feel my body jerk really hard to one side. And my first thought was like, oh, we're dodging a deer. Like, there's a deer on the road. We've been doing it the whole trip. Deer jump out in front and just move around. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I feel it swerve back the other way. And I was like, oh, man, you, like, feel your chest sink in, feel the G-force like a roller coaster. And I was like, oh, man, like, whoa, we're dodging a car. Like, this is really heavy. And it kept getting more and more. And then all of a sudden, there was, like, a moment of silence. And it was, like, half a second. And all of a sudden, it was just complete chaos, just, like, over and over and over and over. And our car tumbled, I believe it was 6 times on the interstate. And the speed limit there was 80 miles an hour. And so I can only imagine, I'm asleep, so I can only imagine what Jackson, he's probably driving 80, he wanted to get to IHOP.
Yeah.
And what happened was a tire blew on our van, the front left tire, and it caused us to swerve, and it overcorrected, and then there was like loss of balance on it, and it ended up rolling. And I was conscious throughout the whole thing, and we rolled 6 times, and I remember as it was rolling, the first couple rolls, I was like, this isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. And I kept
like slows,
yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah. Heavy. Yeah. And we just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And all of a sudden, it all just kind of like hit and stood still. And the car like leveled. And we had landed right side up after all those rolls on the interstate. And my first thought is I just look up. And all of a sudden, I see the whole front of the van, because I'm in the back of the van. The whole front of it's just open. Like, there's no glass anywhere. That everything's just crushed and, like, front window, everything. And my first thought, I'm like, Jackson. I'm like, man, he's in the front. Like, what? And I just throw myself over all the seats. I'm like, Jackson! And I'd never heard my voice that deep. Like, it was just pure, like, terror, scary, adrenaline, shock, like, everything. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Like, literally look at my friend, and he's like, he's dead. Like, what is, like, his blood's everywhere. Like, it was very, very graphic. And all of a sudden, I hear him moan just a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, oh, man. Like, he could be, like, he could still be there, And I throw myself out the side of the window because the doors are just crushed. It's, like, the right side of the van. I just, like, fall to my knees.
Where's the van, by the way?
It's on the side of the road. It's on the, like, right side.
So it landed on the side.
Yeah, it was just, like, a grassy, like, whatever. Which is crazy because 100 feet down the road, it was, like, this steep ravine. Wow. We had landed right there. Wow. And I'm, like, outside of the car. It's just weird. You just wake up and all of a sudden you're on like the side of the interstate and everything. It's cold outside. The sun just rose.
This is Colorado too.
This is Colorado. Yeah, just past Aurora, past Denver. And I was like, oh man. And I'm running. There's a semi truck that had pulled over right behind us. He's probably like 200 feet behind. And I was like, yo, call 911, call 911, call 911. He's like, yo, are you okay? You okay? I was, don't worry about it. Like, I'm good. Don't worry. Like, whatever. And we like ran over to the van. I was like, let's get Jackson. Like, he needs help. He needs help. And so they had an ambulance on the way and all that stuff. And while we were waiting, we go over and I keep trying to pull the passenger side door open because his driver's side door was just crushed. Like, it was, you couldn't open it. It wasn't a door anymore. And I put my foot up on the side and I'm trying to pull the door open and it like swings open. And my first thought, I'm like, what do I do? Like, I want to help him, but I know you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to just go. You're like, no one's ever told me, like, what is this moment I'm having right now? And all of a sudden, like, literally within seconds, I had a hand on my shoulder, pushing it aside. I said, don't worry, I got it from here. And in the moment, I'm just like, okay, like, what? You know, what is this? Like, what's even going on right now?
Yeah.
And turns out, it was one of the top surgical nurses or surgeons at Aurora Medical, which is one of the best hospitals in Colorado. And she was on her way to work, driving on the other side of the interstate and saw it happen. And she pulled over and ran across the interstate and was there. And if she wouldn't have been there, she wouldn't have been able to stabilize him. She knew exactly where to put her hands on his neck, on his head. He was like bleeding out really fast. Yeah. And she just like put her hands right in there and stopped the bleeding. And they actually air evacuated him. A helicopter landed right there on the I guess not tarmac, the interstate. Yeah. And they load him up, and I'm like asking, like, whoa, like, what's going, is he whatever? And people are like,
not to cut you off, why they air evac? Like, did the ambulance show up and they realized he needs to be airlifted? Was it distance wise? Like, what was the main reason to airlift him?
I want to say it was distance, and I'm not sure if they knew how stable he was because he was in pretty bad shape. There are people telling me like, your friend's not gonna make, like, this is one of the worst we've ever seen, and then some other people were like, no, we think we could stabilize him or something like that. And they ended up stabilizing him in the helicopter on his way back to Aurora. And I'm standing there and, they're like loading him into everything or whatever. And all of a sudden I look around and it's everything I've like ever owned, really, like all, everything that meant something, a camera, like, everything. And it's been thrown for hundreds of feet across the interstate. And it's just like in a wreck, like, oh, there's part of a lens, there's part of a camera, like, and I just looked at it, and all of a sudden I just felt this like rush of calmness, and it was like, none of this matters, like, at all. It's like, he's what matters right now, and if they can get him better, like, it'll be okay. Yeah. But it was just like, I don't need to worry about any of this. Yeah. Just let it go. Yeah. And from there they like went through. We did some police questioning. I tried to get in contact with his family. I called my family. My mom's like, yo, I'm coming out right now. She got on the next flight. And texted my brother, texted his sisters, and his family at the time was in Greece on like vacation.
Wow, what are the odds of that?
Man, like, I called his sisters, like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? Like, oh man, this is hard. And so then we ended up going to a hospital, and I spent like 6 hours in that room, where they're like, they come in and they tell you like, your friend made it or he didn't. Yeah. And they give me updates, and one guy came in and he told me he went through this like massive head surgery or something. He fractured his spine, like his left arm was totally crushed, like he had ribs that were broken, like his skull had fractures, just everything you could think of, and he's just totally unconscious, obviously. And they did all these emergency surgeries on him, and eventually they were like, do you want to see him? We stabilized him. I was like, yes, I would love to see him. And you go in there and you see your friend, like one of my closest friends, in a full body, like everything, tubes coming out everywhere, everything, and just like lifeless, just laying there, and all these nurses around reading vitals, reading everything. You're like, man, this is wow. Like, this is wow. I did not expect for this to happen this morning. Yeah. And at that time, I was able to get in touch with his parents, and we FaceTimed right there, and I told them what had happened, and that was very difficult. Yeah. And they decided they were going to fly home as soon as possible.
From Greece.
The whole family. Like, that is not a cheap ticket to get. I mean, he has 4 sisters. Yeah. And they all decided to come, and they had like people start coming through the hospital. Eventually my mom came, and he was still unconscious for about 3 days. And there'd be certain times they would want me to walk up to him, and they would kind of release some of the like, not antibiotics, or like steroids they'd give him so that he'd stay under. Yeah. They would kind of like drop it a little bit so they could start to get reactions from his fingers if they tap him, or like nerves or something. And they would want me to say like, hey bro, let's move your foot or let's move your arm, because maybe it would be more familiar to him to hear my voice instead of a random nurse's.
Yeah.
And I remember they would do that, and every hour we would check, and I'd walk up to him and be like, hey man, let's move your foot. Yo, let's move your foot, or let's move your hand.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard to just stand there and just go, hey man, let's move. And just nothing, you know, over and over. And eventually his family came through.
How many days after is this?
It's about 3 days after. So we stayed in Aurora. Yeah, my mom came through. We got a hotel room. He had some other family come through. It's pretty like heavy moments, you know, just spending time and just seeing. And he was slowly making progress. And around the like 3 or 4 day mark, my mom and I were like, you know what, I was like, I really want to be home and see the family. And I'm like, you know what, this is great. His whole family's here. Let's give him some time. Like, we'll head back home. So we ended up flying home and just leaving him there. He stayed for about 3 months, I believe. He went through rehab. He learned to walk again. He went through all these things. And he doesn't even remember any of it. Coming out of it. Yeah, I even went to visit him at one point when he was somewhat stable and he was able to live in a home environment. And even to this day, he doesn't really remember the conversations we had during that time.
But he was having a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, like we would sit down and talk, and his personality was different. You're like,
wow.
Whoa. You're like, who's my best friend? Like, where'd he go? You know, like, what's this? And slowly but surely, he started getting better and better and better and better. And I'd say it took him about 6 months to fully physically heal. Mentally, somewhere between 8 months to a year.
And at what point so you went home, when was the moment that they kind of told you he's gonna recover, like he's gonna
it was a slow process the whole way through, because they knew that he was getting better, but to what extent, you know, because everyone gets better, but it's like, is he gonna be different? Is he not
is there
gonna
head
have the same?
trauma?
Can he only lift his arm this high for the rest of his life, or you know, can he run? Again, like if you're learning to walk, they don't know, you know. And it's just slowly. He would go in and they like move his hand a little bit, and then like they come back next week and you can move it a little bit more, and 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 you can slowly open his hand. And like after, like when I saw him 3 months later, like he couldn't move his hand past this, you know, just like a slight clutch or something. I was like, man, this is like, you just like, whoa, like how did that turn from being on a road trip and then all of a sudden you're just thrown into this whole like am I alive right now, like what's going on, seeing your friend like that. And I went home, and I remember for the first like week or so being home, just thrown right back in the home environment, I kind of had some like PTSD, like anxiety symptoms.
Like you're making toast and you're probably thinking about it, you're going to the gym, you're
and it, like I'd go to bed every night and it was like, oh, you're in a car wreck, you know, like that's what would process through my head. And I remember every day I would wake up at like 4 a.m, like just no alarm, anything. It was just like, oh, I'm up. And all I wanted to do was move. I was like, I just want to go. And I'd literally just go on a run. I just want to go. I just want to move. I just want to like live and breathe. And I remember just going on these runs and just like tears streaming down my face. Just like, I just want more out of it. Like, I just want to move and do things because, and this is something kind of summing up a lot of like, just my mental processes through it was like, up to that point, and this was actually a conversation I had with my dad when I go back home, but I told him, I was like, you know, I don't feel like I'm living. I don't feel like I'm giving this my all. Like if you literally died tomorrow, like I'm not squeezing every ounce of life that I could be. And that really fueled the whole, like, I just want to move. I want to better my life. Like I want to move forward with this and like all chips in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was a moment of like, this is kind of like a wake up moment almost, you know, like nobody deserves or wants to go through something of that sort, but it's like that perspective. Okay, this happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing that either of us can do about it. The only thing that we can change is how we're living our life moving forward, which you already seemed like you were already somebody that was chasing something you already loved. Yeah. So it wasn't like this complete, like, I'm doing something I hate, now I need to change it because this happened. It was more of just like doubling down almost.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like everything changes at once. You know, it's more of like a perspective shift, really, that kind of catapulted like the learning and growth moving forward. Because I remember there was one point, like I kept going on these runs every morning, you know, I was talking about. And there was one point, it like kind of really got to me. And I was like, okay, let's deal with this right now. And I went and I got in my car and I just drove around my hometown for like 3 hours, you know, because I love driving.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
And I just drove around and I went, all right, how are we going to move forward with this? Yeah. We can't do this forever.
Yeah.
How are we moving forward? And, you know, it's like, there can only be good from this. So we're going to take the best from this.
Yeah.
We're going to use this to better our life.
Yeah.
And just like actually live our life.
Yeah.
Like just find a purpose in it and move forward with it. Like there's no sense in looking at it in a negative way. And it's just placing yourself in a place of gratitude.
Yeah.
And just keeping that there every day. Like, I'm grateful this happened and I'm grateful for the results this is going to produce.
Yeah. Is that kind of where chasing every second stemmed from? Because that's kind of part of your branding now. Like, is that directly where that's from?
Yeah. And well, so over time, it took, you know, just thinking, I think about it all the time. But about 6 months later, I was like, you know what? I really want to get a tattoo I want something to remember every single day. And I got this tattoo on my wrist. It says alive with a line through it. Simply as a reminder that I shouldn't be alive. And it's more of a mark of gratitude. Yeah. To like remember, like I pick up this coffee here, like, you know, I touch your laptop. Or you're like, you know, it's like, oh, gratitude. Gratitude. Like I can actually feel this desk. Like I'm alive. Yeah. You know? And just keeping that, it's like, that's something I want to instill in other people is like, if you have a vision and like, I want you to see it through. Yeah. You know, like I want you to chase it down and get it. Yeah. You know, don't just like, oh yeah, like I have a vision, I have this dream. It's like, why not go for it? Like you could be gone tomorrow. Yeah. Like you don't expect to just wake up in a car and like die. You know, like it runs through my head sometimes. And I don't think it's a sin of a lot, but like I could have easily just flown to the front of the car and I would never remember it. Yeah. You know? Like you in that sense it kind of took some of the fear away as well as like you're not really gonna remember when you're gonna die. Yeah. So it's like, why not go all out and max out this life? Yeah. Like you get one shot at it, man.
I know. Do you find yourself, is it literally every day? Do you see the tattoo or do you get to a point now where it's just kind of there and then
it's there? Yeah. Yeah. It's not even, I mean, this is like an extra reminder, but it's like, it's kind of tattooed on my brain, you know?
Every day.
Every day. It's like everything I do, like I just look at things differently. It's like, it's gratitude for everything. Like, even if it's like a bad situation, sometimes it's like, I'm glad that I'm here to experience this, that even if it's a bad situation, it's going to move me forward in some way. You know, like we talked about earlier, having those doubts or something. Like you can only look at it with a sense of gratitude and go, this is going to bring me to a place that I wasn't before. And I'm going to be grateful for that too. Yeah. You know, it's raining outside. Great. Gratitude. Good. I love the rain then, you know?
I love that. Now, before that happened, I'm curious, did you find yourself as somebody that was pretty grateful for opportunities or was this more of like helping you live more presently?
Yeah, I was always grateful for a lot of things and I always like had a lot of ambition in certain things, but I felt like, kind of like we talked about earlier with some of the passivity, it kind of really kicked me in the gear of like, anti-mediocrity, just like full let's get rid of that and let's pull out all the stops and the limiters and like let's press the gas.
That's kind of it. Yeah. Kicking ass.
Yeah, that's good.
So you do a lot of branded content. You do a lot of personal content for yourself. Now we're gonna get more into like Mitchell Mullins, the visual content creator. How do we as creators create content that emotionally connects with people? Because I think you do a very good job of that, especially with like the 2018 recap you just posted. Like, how do you get people to emotionally connect with?
I think it's telling your truth and not telling someone else's truth, because like every person has a voice inside of them, and it's about listening to that voice and trying to express it outwards, especially if something like creativity is your outlet, like whether it's music, whether it's something, you know, it's like instead of just copying something that you see or that it's cool, it's like, what's my truth and how can I scream that to the world? Like, what's my way of just like like when I put something into a video project, it's like, I want this to just be an expression, this just like rage of like, this is my truth and what I'm saying, and I want to present this to the world.
Yeah. I think that's important. The truth thing, as we were talking about earlier too, it's like, even, you know, you have to tell your truth, and I think that is ultimately, it doesn't even have to be somebody that creates content. I think it's just somebody that, I don't care what your dreams are, what your passions are, but telling your truth in the process that you're going through to get there, people connect with that stuff. People really, there's a lot of people, you know, sometimes it's like, I feel like sometimes I'm just like, yo, how is it that I got the lottery ticket to have these conversations on a weekly basis or even twice a weekly basis? Because I've realized that like these conversations that we're having, not everyone gets to have. Not everyone has somebody around them to have these conversations with. And so maybe they're scared to tell their truth because they didn't grow up with a bunch of creators or they didn't grow up with people around them like saying, yes, you could make this a living. You could do the unthinkable and become that person that you're dreaming of becoming.
Which is crazy because when you do tell your truth, you attract those people. Yeah. Like we speak our truths, we get to sit down and talk about them, talk about the world, talk about different things, avenues of creativity, and like that impacts people. Yeah. Like telling your truth isn't just for you, it's for everyone else around you. Like it's bigger than the individual. Yeah. You know, your truth, your vision, like it's out there for the world to see and it has to be seen.
Yeah. You had literally titled one of your YouTube videos that said, surround yourself with creative people. And I know we talked about it early on and we're getting into it now, but like directly, how has that helped you grow? Because I've seen you work with Como. I see you working with a lot of these, you know, even Jackson himself, like you work with a lot of passionate people. How is that directly helping you grow to who you are today?
I think, and the video you're referring to is when I was in Cape Town. I remember we kind of got in this group of guys. There's like 5 or 6 guys who we'd always hang out with and shoot, and it was like the most creative bunch. You know, we're all talking about ideas nonstop. And I remember I just wanted to make that video because I was like, it was the best headspace of creativity I'd ever been in, of just like nonstop. Because when you surround yourself with those people, that's what you tend to think about.
The unthinkable.
You know? Like that's all you think about. You're like,
no mountain too high enough. Yeah, you guys are going way over that.
And it's like, especially when you surround yourself. I mean, you mentioned Como. You've had him on here. Like, he has amazing ideas, and he's so passionate about what he does. And like, it's not only just like creative people, like the passionate people. When you surround yourself with those passionate people, you just up your levels of passion. Yeah. It's just like this nonstop circle, and it's like, it does wonders for your creativity, for like you growing, like you expressing. It's amazing.
It's an energy.
It's an energy, man.
It's a priceless energy that you can't really buy. But yeah, I think it's even you don't have to surround yourself with like other creatives. You know, it's like you're saying, like one of the best sound bites I've ever had on this podcast, I swear, was this was a guy named Rhetoric. He used to he DJs for Logic, a recording artist, but he also makes his own music. And that's one thing that he said was like, I don't care if your passion is building billboard boxes, building cardboard boxes. You could tell me anything and everything about that cardboard. You're the person I want to be around, the person with the passion. And it like struck with me. It was just one of those moments of like, yeah, it's so true. Like that's why I've tried to have so many different guests of different passions because there's an energy to it. And even though the guest before you was a flight attendant, still very passionate about that career path. You're very passionate.
It's the same thing. Like, you know, you've had all these guests. Yeah. Like, same thing when you asked me earlier about, like, the perspective I get of people traveling around the world and meeting those different people. Like, in a lot of sense, it's the same thing you have going on here. Yeah. Like, all these people are so different, but yet you get to connect with them and hear their stories and just share these ideas.
And just share it out there to the world. You've been around, though. Like, we've touched on a little bit. You've been to Switzerland, South Africa, Hong Kong, Dubai. I mean, that's literally just, I'm sure, just a little taste of kind of where you've been.
2018 was crazy.
Yeah. I actually have one of the 2 fan questions I have comes from Jackson Nettleship, so another Jackson.
Oh, I know Jackson.
One of the most, he wanted to ask, and I thought this was a good question. What's been the most important lesson that you've learned from traveling?
I think, you know, I think it's just to listen. To listen to other people. You know, like, you know, as much as we talk about, you know, sharing our truths and expressing and doing certain things, I think it's to listen to other people and to hear their side of things. Because even sometimes some creatives hit me up on Instagram DM and they're like, yo, like, how can I learn and grow from other people? And a lot of times my response is like, okay, well, first, like, surround yourself with those people, but then just watch and just listen. Yeah. Like, just listen to what are people saying? Yeah. Like, why? Yeah. Like, you need to sit back sometimes and take that back seat and and you're going to learn more that way than just always talking and sharing your things. So it's a little bit of both. It's walking both tightrope.
Yeah, listening. I mean, this is what I do. This is what I do all day long.
I mean, you're just sitting here.
You know what I mean? Like, I just sit here and listen to people and I'm just learning. And it's crazy. I haven't read a book. Like, I don't read ever anymore. Like, 2018, really? I don't even know.
Such an advocate for reading.
I know, and I'm not knocking it down, but what I've learned is my strength is listening. And so I have grown so much as a person in the last 1-2 years, and it's been solely from listening. So it's like, I'm not gonna say don't go read a book. If you're somebody that likes to read, like, please. But I've realized that podcasts and listening to other people, I've grown tremendously, and it's just a listening skill. You know, just like tapping into conversations, tapping into people, and also even like what you were saying, even the second time that we had met at Como Shoot, just watching and listening to somebody that passionate about their thing inspires me. Like, I'm not going to direct a music video. I'm not going to fly a drone. I know you were out there flying drones. I'm not going to be the lighting guy. I'm not going to be this person or anybody that has a real specific role in that process. But just watching and listening to these people, it's inspiring too. At the end of the day, maybe you don't even learn something from listening to people, but you're going to get inspired from the passion.
Off, man.
Yes.
Inspiration, like, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And it's like, yeah, man, just surround yourself with those people. Like, it rubs off on you. Like, you know, I mean, the old saying, like, you're the collection of your 5 closest friends. Like, wow, that's a fact.
Yeah.
It's not even a...
I think it's sometimes, I'm not saying you take it for granted. I'm not saying I take it for granted. But I think sometimes we are so in our hustle and grind, and we have these people around us doing amazing things that we forget to realize, like, there's somebody that's going to listen to this that doesn't have one person.
Right.
So it's like, holy shit, like, how lucky are we that we have these people that we're working with or that we're around all the time that are just inspiring us to keep moving and to keep creating.
Like, the people that are inspiring that I get to call my friend, like, I'm so grateful for, like, you and all, you know, it's just like, man, it's so valuable. And I hope people can hear that and just, like, either be seeking those friends or just taking it, because you can listen to a podcast and just learn that way too. Like, 100%. you don't have to have all these people around, you know, just learn anywhere you can.
Yeah. It's unstoppable with the internet now. You can listen to anything or watch anything and learn from it. The second other question that I actually had was from Andrew James. He said, "How do you know this person?"
I know who he is. Okay. I don't know. I've never
kind of
met
like
him.
Smirked a little. I
know.
Oh, he might know him. He said, "How do you stay original in a digital world that is saturated with filmmakers?"
I think, and you know this. First, I want to say, speak your truth, of course. But also second is, you know, I get a lot of questions too about people go, how do I find my style filmmaking? And my answer is always change up the process till you find something that works. Because a lot of people, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is everyone wants to, like, copy things or, like, you know, you find inspiration from things. And that's great, I think, when learning or certain things. But when you want to really break out and try something new, or, like, you know, everyone kind of gets stuck in these loops of, like, learning and they're like, okay, well, I don't know where to take it from here or whatever. My answer is always change up the process. Like, literally order your files differently. Like, do your edit backwards. I promise it's going to look different. And, like, it will. And then you just keep doing that. You're like, oh, well, maybe I just make an edit for Instagram that's like 9:16 or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, I've never done that before. Wow, it's going to look different than anything I've ever made. Like, I don't know, shoot, like, take your lens off and shoot. I don't know, do something, you know? And, like, just change up your process. Make something look different and you'll stand out. Yeah. You will.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is getting inspiration from other people. Like, I think sometimes people, they think that, like, they're copying other people, and it's like, you can copy somebody, but you're always going to be in second place if you copy that person. If you try to be the next Mitchell Mullins, if you try to be the next Sam Kohler, Matt Como, if you try to be them and do the same exact thing, you're only going to be, the best you could be is second place. Yeah. So it's like, create whoever you are, create for your own name. What do you want to be known for? Take inspiration from all that you're paying attention to, and slowly but surely you're going to marinate into something that is of whatever your name is or your brand. Like, it's not, and that's the thing. It's not even, I could even ask that without a filmmaker attached to it. Like, that's not just filmmaking. That's literally any passion out there. It's like, you just take all these inspirations and put it together, and that's when you're going to get something and learn. And
which it's also, and not countering it, but I see two sides of it. I see one is, yes, take inspiration from everyone, but don't be influenced by everyone. Because I find it often is when I'm scrolling through Instagram or when I go watch people's new videos or something, things like that, I often find my mind tends to lean towards that when I want to be creative. Yes. Is what I saw last, because it's so easy to copy. That's the default, right? Yeah. Like, your brain wants to copy what you're seeing, like your visual. It's just like eating food. Like, it's your eyes, you know? It's like an outlet to your brain, and it's, you know, so I see myself as taking inspiration from everyone I know, and you know what I see and what they're doing, what their mission is, and just being proud of them and what they do, but also limiting myself from it. Yeah. And going, because that's how you make original stuff.
I gotta spend more time creating original stuff versus watching other people's work.
Because when you're so busy creating original content, I promise you, those people who are doing that aren't always looking for inspiration from things that they've thought through and surpassed.
See what the market's doing, but don't get caught up in it.
Like be aware. Like everything's subjective. You know, like you could tell someone like, oh, read books. Like even your book thing, right? It's subjective because maybe for me it's like, oh, I need to read books. Maybe for you, maybe you don't need to. Yeah. You know, it's like whatever works for you. Like someone could be listening to this, take your advice. Don't. Maybe do something different. Yeah. You know, it's all subjective.
Yeah. I personally have found myself cutting back on a lot of the podcasts that I used to listen to because they're interviews and I don't want to get inspired, or I don't want to get inspired. I want to get inspired, but I want to create just based on like what do I think is great? What's going to create the best product? And so I will listen to a little bit of here and there and try to find the inspiration, or just like learn and study more of like the questions that they ask and how they actually host the interview. But I've gotten much more of like, I don't even want to listen to this unless it's a guest that I really want to listen to, because I don't want to question myself and think maybe I'm doing this show the wrong way. Maybe I'm not asking the right questions. Like a perfect example, when Rory's Pod was about to come out, he literally was like, yo, did you ever peep my recent interview with another guy named Gerard Adams? He does a lot of content. I said, yo, honestly, I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to watch it until everything is produced on my end for this rollout, because I don't want to be inspired. I don't even want to know what the title is. Yeah. Because then I'm going to be like, well, if it was that, then I can't use it. I just like, yo, Roy, I don't even want to watch this or listen to it until I'm completely rolled out with all of your content, and then I'll go in and listen and watch to see how they catered. But I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, am I crazy? But no, it's just like that's how you create your own brand or your own like style.
Like when I edit, it tends to be in these massive bursts where it's like day in, day out, day in, day out. And during those times, like I don't check YouTube. I don't check Instagram. It's like even the stories.
Will you go days without, or like?
Just, yeah. And like I've been working on a video this last month when I was home with family. I literally left my phone in my room for almost a week.
Really?
And like people were like,
would you check for like,
what's up? And I'd be like, yo, I'm so sorry. Like I like ended up curving a lot of people on an accident, but it was like it's very intentional.
It says, would you check the phone at least for like text or
for like emails? If I needed to go somewhere or something, but like when it would come to just like general things or people sending videos or checking YouTube, I was off.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that's something that I need to try getting better at. Is part of this little breakdown thing that I had the other day that I was kind of touching on. I just find myself getting caught up, and I'm so happy to see other people succeed. Yeah. But I found myself getting to a point where I was so caught up in seeing people do such great things that I'm comparing myself and saying I'm not doing as great as what they are doing. As I'm driving around Ubering to pay the streets, I'm comparing myself. And so now I'm even the last 2 days, I've just like, I'll go in, I'll post some things I just want to put there to the world, because I understand there are people in this world that consume. Right. There's people that pay attention to my content. I want to show them my process and like what's going through. But then I quickly just get out and then just put it to the side and just like, don't get so caught up in like what's going on in the world. The world's going to keep spinning. I know. Content's going to keep getting produced. People are going to keep making moves. It's up to us to step away and figure our shit out and then step back into that world and then keep going and keep going.
Because it comes down to, are you doing it for you? You know, because that's the comparison trap, you know, like, and I get a lot of messages about this one too. People go, well, how can I be original, or how can I like put out my videos if all these other people, like, I don't have the camera gear, I don't have the effects, I don't have the knowledge. You're like, no, you're missing the point. Like, if you want to make videos and you want to capture your life, you want to make music, podcasts, you make movies, anything, like, just do it for you. Like, just do it, start. You don't have to listen to the world. Yeah. And honestly, it's going to be a more true version of you. Yeah. And you're going to be more successful when you just keep that confidence like inside and go, I'm making this and I'll put it out to the world, and I don't care what anyone else is doing. Yeah. This is for me.
I think an easy way to figure out the realness in someone, or how passionate they truly are with whatever their craft is. Yeah. Why are you doing it? Why are you making films? Why are you podcasting? Why are you want to start a t-shirt brand? Why? If you boil down to the actual why of what they're doing, you can probably bet whether they're going to make it in the long haul or not. And that's that ends up being the easy read for me of like, is this somebody I want to keep in my circle, or is this somebody that I just see is complete bullshit and is doing it for the wrong reasons? Do we all want to make money? Absolutely.
Sure.
Do we all want to have a nice ass car? Absolutely. But if that is the main focus of why you're doing that thing, you are gonna burn out. You are gonna not be. It's not gonna work. Like in the long play, you might make short-term money, but in the long play, you're not gonna be doing that same thing. It's just not gonna work out for you.
Yeah, like when you sit down, I was thinking about this one last week while I was editing. I was like, I feel like I'm 12 years old right now. Like when you sit down and do whatever it is, your craft, whatever you love, like you should feel like a kid again. You should be like, I'm doing that. Like when I sit down and edit, I feel like I'm 12 years old, just learning new effects, like doing whatever. Like nothing else really matters. It's like doing this, and obviously like get business done, like do your stuff. But it's like focus on that. That's another thing too, and this is for the filmmakers. You know, people are always like, oh, putting this out, whatever. Like people don't like to put stuff out because they think of like what other people are gonna think about it, and it's like, no, just make it for you. Like just make your own projects. Yeah. Like everyone's like, oh, I'm only gonna upload brand stuff, or I'm only gonna do this. Like no, like working on your own projects is what's going to get you to that next level. Like everyone's just so scared of like, just do it for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally do it for you. Like that is important. Like I'm still doing this for why I wanted to do it in the first place. I'm sure you're still making films like for the same reason you started making when you were at Star Wars, right? Like still that same process. What is that creative process look like for you when you're in the whole edit phase and just like getting things done? Like what helps you get into the best creative flow?
I think it's sitting down. I've got to like get stuff done for the day. So I got to win the day. Okay, cool. Sitting down, like I'm blocking off X amount of time, whether that's like 4 hours or that's like 5 days or anything, or like weeks, months, whatever. It's like, all right, here's this creative space. I'm going to go in and intentionally going into it. And so, get a cup of coffee, sit down, whatever. Music, so important.
So important.
Like
what type of music?
Dude, everything.
Plug
like if you really know me, like it's weird. I'll go from like super cinematic music to like heavy.
What's your guilty pleasure music?
Like heavy EDM,
really?
like bass house. Like I'm a sucker for a good deep house song.
Like 3 hours straight.
Oh, dude, it's unreal. Like get a cup of coffee too. Like I'll like literally, I could just like punch a hole in my computer screen or something for no reason. No, it's so real. I'll like listen to like music sets from like EDM, like all the just EDM. Like,
you're just going ham.
Yeah, I know all of it. Yeah,
oh
all that stuff. But then I can switch into like super cinematic, and I like super feeling. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna listen to like a movie score or something now. And it's that super extreme you pull from, and like it's just that energy. And then when you find the song for an edit, just listen to it over and over. I'll just plug in the earbuds. I'll like listen late at night or like early in the morning or something. It's like close my eyes just over and over. Like try to feel it. Like where's the beat hitting? Like what is this conveying? And then just try to match some clips in there. Like okay, cool.
So this is after you've already shot something. So now you know all the stuff that you shot.
I usually try to find the song first before I start cutting clips, unless the video.
Oh
is whatever. But it's like because usually the song makes it. You want something to match what you shot, and when you find it, it's like magic. You're like, oh.
This is gonna be perfect.
This is so good, and you start laying clips in, and then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks go by, and you haven't slept, and you're just like, oh what's going on? And like, I do this weird thing whenever I get to the end of a project because they take a long time to finish, man. Like some take weeks, months. Like
the 2018 one you just put out. How long did that take you to make?
Well, okay, that one. Well, besides filming it, that one took me like a few days to edit.
Okay,
but that was just a couple clips.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't even.
That's not like a real.
That's not even the real 2018 edit.
I know.
But like, I'm working on a video from Cape Town last year, and
that's what happens when you have 40 terabytes.
I know. My desk is just stacked with these hard drives, but like, dude, they take like weeks and weeks and like months. Like if I sat down, I could probably finish in like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe. And it's like, that's just. It takes.
You have so many other things going on at one time that you can't just sit down.
Yeah. But like when it comes to the end of it, like the last couple days, and I'm like, I'm going to put this out. Like I'll draw a hard deadline for myself. Like okay, like January 18th, this video is coming out.
Yeah.
And like the last couple days, like I remember the last video I finished was from the Lofoten Islands, and
that thing came
I was
amazing.
in Bali when I was editing it, and literally I could not sleep for 3 days straight. It was the longest I'd ever stayed up. I was just editing, and I was like, whoa, I'm not tired. I'm working. Like I was just on it, like listening that heavy, just going. And all of a sudden it was like sun came up, sun came down, sun came up.
And you're just still in the same spot.
And I was going, and it had been 3 days. And I'm like, I'm not tired. This is so, and it happens every time. I just can't.
You get in the flow.
Because my mind is like, I'm giving this out to the world, and I want it to be the absolute best it can be. Yeah. And it's kind of like that. You kind of walk the tight line of like perfectionistic, but also putting things out. It's about like embracing the perfectionist, but also just like conquering him as well, and being like the perfectionist that puts work out. Yeah, that's where you
I literally had the biggest smile on my face when I texted you about lining up this podcast, and you're like, yo, I'm in Nashville right now and I just had a cup of coffee and I'm so stoked going into this edit, and it's like 11 p.m. your time, and I'm like, this guy is an absolute savage. Savage.
Yeah, dude, I just go so hard sometimes. It's crazy.
The thing is time is nothing when you're in that flow. Like I even find myself when we're recording these podcasts, when I'm in the post-production, editing and making these clips, time just flies, man. And that's when I think that's a key indicator of when you've found something, is when you stop thinking about time and you want more of it. You want more hours in the day because you want to double down on that project that you're working on.
Like I need 8 days a week and 25 hours a day to get it done.
Yeah. You know? So I think that ends up being a good clue as to, oh, this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I need to keep going at. I don't care if nobody's paying attention. I don't care if nobody's actually like really supporting just yet. But I like this.
And one part of the whole filmmaking process that I love is the amount of craftsmanship you can put into a project. I think the smallest details is what makes the project the project. You know, it's like I'm gonna totally butcher the quote, but there was a quote I heard sometime last year, and this guy was talking about his father was like a carpenter and he made shelves, and he's this like ultimate craftsman. He spent his whole life like making things, and he said, when I look for like an apprentice or someone like that, he said, I care more about what you painted on the back of the shelf, the side that no one's going to see. And same thing when it comes to music, when it comes to podcasts, comes to video creating. It's like, what are those details? Did you really go in there and mess with all those details the way that you wanted to have it done and give that to the world?
Yeah. A small well, not really. I don't want to call it small because it is a bigger detail. But one thing I've noticed in your style is how you. I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm so terrible with like explanation. But how you bring certain clips and visuals out of like the format or the I don't know, how do you like properly say that?
So like, you know, when you put a video together, you lay like the widescreen bars on top to make it more, you know, cinematic, right? Yeah. And I started doing this thing a couple of videos back where I would start masking out. It was the last video I did. People remember this one where there was like I think it was like a elk or something. It was some like animal, and its horn swept by across the screen. And I was like, that would be an amazing shot if I masked that outside the black bars and gave it like a 3D effect, you know? Yeah. And people started like sending me messages like, how'd you do this? Like whatever, yeah.
You even did it with Como too. There was like a 48-hour one that I watched earlier today.
There's one where he's looking up at the light beam and he's outside of the black bars.
I had shook. I was like, what is going on?
Or like there's like a hand sticking out. Like no one expects it though, you know?
Yeah. That's like your style. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a little thing that I've never really seen across filmmakers, and I was like, oh, there's something that maybe might be his like style, might be something that he's trying to.
That I've also been trying to focus on like color extremes in my videos. You notice a lot of things go from like extremely like cold blues to really hot, and just bounce all over the place and mix that with all that stuff. And I don't know,
it creates something dope.
Create something dope.
It creates something dope. There was actually another fan question. I thought I only had two, but I guess there was three. I was a little wrong. Lisa Krastoff, I think that's how you say her name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Lisa or Lena, I should say. What is like your career goal? What do you like? Are you trying to make feature films one day? You know, I think I definitely don't think we have to have it all figured out, because I don't have it all figured out. But I think it's also important to just have something big that we're working towards. Right. So what is Mitchell Mullins working towards? What's the grand big picture?
Right now, and obviously, like you said, you know, we don't know exactly everything that's going to come up, but right now it's focused on getting bigger projects, working with different companies, you know, advancing the portfolio, advancing my skills, and really I just want to see where that goes play out over the next 3 to 5 years. Like just how far can I take this filmmaking thing, and just how far can I push the limits on it? How much can we build a community around this, like to push everyone forward as a whole and see where that goes.
Dude, you're only 20, man. As you're sitting there and you're like, in the next 3 to 5 years, I had this like epiphany of where I was at 20 and then the next 3 to 5 years, and it's like it's super inspiring. Like so young, man. And I remember I told you this when you had came through before, like, you're competing at the level of like these huge filmmakers that I'm sure you look up to. Like, your name is up there. I don't care. Maybe the credibility might not be there just yet, or numbers or whatever people want to like be the indicator. But if you look at the art itself and you X out everything else and you look at the final products of what you're creating, it's high level, and it's inspiring, and just the detail of what you create. You're gonna be a problem by 25. By the time you're 25, you're my age, bro. You're gonna be a problem.
And that means the world to me, bro.
It's gonna be like, you're gonna look back on this conversation and laugh and be like, I was really just making these videos. I was just doing that. Like, I've like
even last year, I
got a whole team of people. I'm editing this on my private jet. You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be a whole nother level, and you're just gonna laugh at it.
You know, some people they'll comment like, "Whoa, where's all the millions of views on the video?" It's like, no. It's like, slow down. Like, I want it in the back of my mind. I want it to take as long as possible.
Yeah. And
just let it grow through that, because I think that's one of the biggest advantages to the small creators is like, you don't have all the opinions.
Yeah.
Of everything going on. It kind of clears your headspace, because you know that's something you'll have to go through and learn in and of itself, and that's just part of it. But it's like, for now, it's like, I love that underdog mentality.
Yeah.
It fuels me so much, you know?
What would be your best advice to the young creators? Because there's going to be a lot that listen to this that probably follow you. They get inspired by you, and they see what you're doing, and they're trying to create their own brand, their own style. And I know you've touched on a couple things, you know, create your own style, stop paying attention to what everyone else is creating. But what else would you say to the young creators that are listening?
I say don't stop. And especially if you're a smaller creator, sometimes negative comments come in, or, you know, criticism on your video. Don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Just keep going and keep creating.
Yeah.
A lot of people stop, or they get, like we talked about, the perfectionistic cycle. You know, you're like, oh, this isn't good. It has to be better than the last thing. It has to, you know, this isn't as good as comparing to someone else. This is not as good as blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they don't put out anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, where'd your content go? You were doing great. Like, oh, you know, it's like, no, put out your work.
Yeah.
Consistently put out your best work.
Yeah.
On a consistent basis, and you will get better. It's the only way to get better.
I know.
Just keep putting out work.
You know, it's that consistency that is the toughest part. It's like, once you get past like the hump of starting something, and like slowly, it doesn't have to be the actual results, but it's like once you get so caught, it's like a diet. Like, once you get past the first 3 to 5 weeks of eating healthy, you're like, all right, I just got to keep doing this.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like the passion. Once you get past like that hump of like, I don't know what I'm doing, now it just gets easier, because you keep staying at it. You keep punching the bag over and over and over, and it becomes the game of like, how many times am I willing to punch?
I heard this thing a couple weeks ago. I believe it was a quote by Jordan B. Peterson on YouTube, and he was basically giving a lecture about starting something, right? Because people are afraid to start, and his advice was, start. It doesn't matter how badly you start something, just do it. And the way he presented it was, he said if you had 100 paper, you know, essay due on Monday, right? It's like, wow, that's overwhelming. You know, take it as a video project or whatever. And some guy came up and he held a gun to your head. He said, you're going to finish this by Monday, but I don't care how bad it is. You could get it done.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, you know, it's like same thing with the edits. Like, that was something I struggled with editing things, is like, I would get so caught up in like, this isn't perfect, this isn't whatever. And it was like, no, I just need to put the clips in. Like, I could finish this video in an hour. Yeah. It might be horrible, up to standards of what you hold yourself to, but you could get it done. And it's like, just keep working like that, because then you have something to work with.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, then you can tweak it, and it makes it so much faster.
Yeah.
So much faster. Just put the clips in. Just do it.
Just put the damn clips
in. Make the
there.
podcast. Make the song. Like, if your song sounds horrible, well, you have a song.
Yeah.
And you can make another one. It's like, just come on.
Just do it.
So that's definitely my advice to other creators. Just keep going.
I love that. And what's cool about Mitchell is he's not just a filmmaker, he's a podcaster too. He's a low-key podcaster. I love that. What was the inspiration of starting the Process podcast, your podcast?
You know, I think it's definitely something I've always had in the back of my mind.
By the way, love the name.
Process. Always in the process. Like, when something, you know, we talk about when something bad happens, in the back of my mind, it's like, it's part of the process. It's part of the journey. Like, even a bad thing happening, or like a struggle or obstacle you have to come, is you have to look at it as a journey. It's you on your way to becoming something else.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you stay in the process, you're always developing yourself. You're always doing this, and that's never going to end. So I was like, wow, that would be an amazing way to sit down and talk with people about their process. Because that's really what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, you like sit down and interview a bunch of people and it's like, basically just saying, what's your process?
Yeah.
You know, in a very long format way.
Exactly.
And so I started a podcast called The Process. I started it, I feel like it was last year, the year before.
Mm-hmm.
It has about 7 episodes so far.
That's fine.
Which is better than 0.
Yeah.
Just start, right?
Just start.
Take the advice. I started with my friend Eli Paul.
Yeah.
And we would literally, every time we go on like a photo shoot or something, like there's one podcast of us just out in the like by a fire in the middle of Idaho, like in the middle of a river. There's like this little riverbank. We're just start a fire there, and we just record a podcast.
And this was on like was this on an iPhone?
iPhone.
See,
yeah. And you can hear the fire crackling in the background.
Dude, that is so.
It's still. I think it's episode 3 or something.
That's
but like
so raw and real.
I was talking the last time we talked, which was in October.
Yeah.
And I was here and we just kicked it. I was talking to you about starting up the podcast again and getting it going, and all of a sudden all came to my mind of like, I know so many people now in the Los Angeles area. I was like, let's talk with them about it. Let's do this. So talking with some people.
You're lining up some guests for it.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
So and just like this, I think it's another way to connect with your audience.
Yeah.
Is through a little bit more long form. It's like, you know, and especially with the amount I post on Instagram right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm only giving people just a little bit, and it's like, I think I could help them a bit more.
Yeah. And that's a whole different medium too. Now you're just voice. You could pump out a podcast in an Uber on your way to LAX.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You have 30 minutes to kill. Like, I'm going to record a podcast by myself talking about where I'm headed, and people would love to just tap in here. Like, what's the process?
It can be
like
more
for
raw.
you?
It doesn't have to be like, I don't have to like fight that perfectionist every time.
Yes. This is my, like, for me, this is like my core. This is my main thing right now, and everything else is funneling below. For you, it doesn't have to be your own studio. You don't have to have all these cameras and lights and all that. You could just focus on what is the core of a podcast. It's a conversation. It is either an interview, it's a solo podcast. And I think that's the beauty of podcasting. There is no true format. There's so many different podcasts out there. Like, it's an open market.
There's like people that are in their cars that are like, hey, on my way to work, episode 872, and people listen to it and love it because it's amazing.
And they love it.
You know?
Is there, moving forward, as you're saying, you kind of have more guests and you're going to kind of step up and maybe do some more, like, what is the ultimate purpose of the Process podcast? Like, what do you want people to take away from it?
Basically, and inferring in the title, is in the same way that what we're doing here, like, I want to crack open people's processes and just lay it out in a very raw way. Is really what you're doing on a higher level, I think, and just to just leave it in that raw format for now. Talk to creative people that I respect their process and go, wow, like there's something that I've learned from you through either just watching you do your thing, whatever, that I think should be shared with the world. Because I think everyone does something a little bit differently. It's just not everyone captures it that way. So you got to share it out, and obviously just connecting with the viewers.
Yeah.
And everyone,
that's perfect, man. Dude,
it's amazing.
Dude,
the community is like, it feels so much, man.
Community is super important. I think that's one of the big things for me in 2018 was like, kind of looking back at it now and just realizing the community of people that I've gotten myself into is incredible. Like, super grateful for them, super thankful. Like, they're not necessarily people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis, but there's somebody that I could text tonight, tomorrow, and ask a question, and they would be there for me. Or if I needed something, like, just to pop an idea of, you know, but that community of people is like, oh man, it's priceless. Like, you can't buy something like that. You can't buy something like that. What makes you happy at the end of the day? What makes you really happy?
You know,
screw fucking a new camera, new lens. What like
this was actually a question I asked myself on the scene of the wreck. And it wasn't that I just asked it to myself like in that same format, but something that I thought about. And what I walked away with it from is, what makes me happy is doing what I love with the people that I love. And that's it. It's, if you're doing that, you're fulfilled, because if you do it for you, you have the right intentions, you're doing it for you, and if you're spending time with the people you love, like how else do you want to spend your time? Like, if you're doing what you love, then you're pushing your limits, you're pushing yourself, like, you're growing. That's what it's a lot of people, and I like to see happiness as not happiness because everyone goes, I want to be happy, and I don't think necessarily that you want to be happy. I think you want to be fulfilled. I think fulfillment is a much higher version of happiness. And it's just something I see, like, when I like look at my work, like, I consider myself a very happy person, but I consider myself more fulfilled than happy. And that's something I want to instill in other people. And I think it's very valuable.
And is that just because of kind of where's that mostly the film it come from? Is it because you're living that passion of the creating? Is it more of because of the people you've surrounded yourself with, or is it just a little bit of both?
It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you start, when you start on your journey and you start chasing what you're passionate about, you start spending time with good people, start sharing ideas, like you kind of get lost in it, in a good way. And you just start becoming happy. You start things in your life start getting better. You start like, oh wow, I want to better myself. Like I said earlier, like I want to max this life out. Like I want to see that vision come to life and play it all the way through.
Yeah.
Like watch it play out. Like something like this with Purpose in the Youth. It's like, man, like I want to see this play out.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. Like just to have a vision and watch it play out and have that support and people you love. Like that's fulfillment, man.
Yeah.
Like playing out your vision.
Yeah. It's important, man. I mean, that's like really at the core why this started. Before I had any of these big guests, before I had anybody that had these crazy resumes and stories, it was just, why are these people doing what they do? They were just homies of mine that kind of just grew up around me, and it started there, and just kind of, they inspired me, and I kept going. And one was making clothes, one was a photographer, my homie, one was making music. It's like, why are these guys like so happy and passionate about what they do, even though they're not like on the biggest stage just yet, and they're still such a work in progress. Why are they so passionate about what they do?
And I want to clarify here real quick, with following the passion, it sounds like it's like amazing being fulfilled, but being fulfilled, like that comes with its struggles too. But there's beauty in the struggle, like when you're working through it, like you can be fulfilled and have hard days.
Yeah.
But you still look at it in a good perspective. Yeah. And you go, I'm going to make the best of this. And you're still fulfilled through it. It's not like, oh, I'm not fulfilled today. It's like, no, I'm on the journey to being, my strongest self.
Yeah.
And I'm fulfilled through that.
What's been the biggest struggle that you've faced?
In life, filmmaking,
post rec, because obviously that's a very big core to like everything of who you are today, but more so of like within your own passion, your creative work. Or I mean, I told you before we started this podcast kind of the struggle that I just went through, of just this whole like moment of like questioning my own doubt and my own creative process. Has there ever been a moment like that, or what's been a struggle within your creative and your actual work that you kind of had to get through?
I think there was a shift a little while back. I'm not exactly sure when, but I remember I looked at my work and I went, what am I saying? Because, you're always watching these tutorials, always watching these things. And this was something I kind of clicked after the rec, like, what is my voice? Talking about being so passive, especially going through high school and coming out of that and going, I don't want to be this passive guy anymore. Who is this guy? Like, who's Mitchell? Like, what does he have to offer to the world? And so that was definitely a struggle coming out of that. It's like, what do I want to present to the world?
Yeah. And I even just like listening to a lot of, I can't think or quote any line specifically, but listening to a lot of your audio in the work that you present, you can tell it's very thought out. Like, it's very precise. Every word this isn't like you just put together a paragraph. Like to me, it sounds like somebody that took the time to just exclude everything going around them, thinking through about what's the overall purpose of this project, and what do I want people to actually take away from it. Because every word is very well written, and even just like caption on your Instagram, it's like, this isn't just like thrown up on there. Like, this is very passionate and personal.
I think a lot of that comes too because as a child I was very quiet. Very like I'd say I'm very introverted, but I'm both.
I think a lot of. I mean, I'm not trying to box filmmakers, but I think a lot of people, a lot of visual people, that has always been the medium for them to speak out.
And it's just like, I mean, being very introverted and like having your thoughts to yourself, like I don't know, man. I mean, you just kind of like, I don't know, it's just working with yourself and like what you have on the inside and like finding that voice internally and speaking that to the world.
It allows you to be your authentic self.
Yeah.
It allows you to be.
Yeah, I mean, and like with that said, is like when I was younger, like I wouldn't say as much. I didn't have as many words to say, and I think that shows a bit now in my filmmaking, where it's I don't always have to say as much. I kind of want the visuals to speak for themselves, and I would rather my work I just put it out and let you think what you want about it, and maybe I'll put a couple liners in it, like what I really want to say, but I don't want to put fluff in it.
Yeah.
You know, to like work so hard on something.
Yeah.
And just have like some fluff words that don't really mean much.
Yeah.
So I don't see that as very valuable.
Yeah. If you had to call one person today and thank them, who would it be?
I mean, my first thought is, it'd be my brother. My brother, Brad. He's like, we're like this, man. Like, we're so tight.
Yeah.
Like, we've always been like best friends just growing up. And even now, like, I was just home for the holidays, and like we spent like every day together. You know,
how long were you home for?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. That's a good amount of time to really catch up.
Yeah, and like he's very creative minded as well.
Yeah.
And we just like, he just has these massive visions for things, and it's like, dude, you're like, just his way of how he looks at the world in this bigger picture, like it's really inspiring, and it's in a lot of ways like most people don't think. He thinks very, very uniquely, and I think that's really like instilled, because we talk like every week or so, like on FaceTime.
Yeah. And
that's really just kind of kept us going, kept that fire going.
Yeah.
You know, when I think out there, sometimes I'll be like out in the world, and I'm like, whoa, there's like a person who's related to, like, as close blood related as possible, who's out there. You know, my brother. It's like, just having that relationship means a lot.
Yeah, it's important. People like that, especially brothers, sisters, like, it's real shit, man. And real shit. What do you think Mitchell's purpose is?
I think my purpose is, you know, and I want to show my purpose. Like, I basically want to live my life just as an example of someone who took their vision, who took what was important to them, and like I said before, just like max this life out and use my actions to either instill confidence, to lead, or to just like inspire other people to do their thing. And you know, like I always talk about like chasing every second. Like if someone has a dream or a vision, like I want them to chase it down. Like if you really want it, go for it. Don't just like half-ass like, oh, I'm gonna stick my foot in the water. Like, dude, jump in the water. Like, dive in the water. Do a double front flip into the water. Like, get it, because like, dude, you got one shot at this thing. Like, you could die tomorrow. Like, go all in, man. Yeah. This is all you got. Like, get it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want it, go. Travel. Do the thing. Don't question it.
Yeah.
Do it. Think later. Yeah. What is it like? What was the quote? It's like, shoot, or it's like, aim, fire. Or aim, shoot, no, shoot, fire, aim, or something like you shoot the gun before you aim it. It's like you're still gonna shoot the gun and keep, you know, moving forward or something like that. But
yeah. I mean, I think as I've realized, I think when I first started becoming a content creator and trying to have a voice, I think for a long time I was trying to tell people how to live their life. And one thing I've realized is the best thing that I can do is show you how I decide to live mine. And if that inspires you, if that teaches you something, then great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I can only tell my truth. I can only tell my story, and let the world take from it.
It's all subjective, bro. Like, like you can take from it, like you living your truth and you doing your thing, but someone else may see it differently and may do it differently, and it may oppose each other. Yeah. But you can both be right.
Yeah.
That's why, like, giving people advice and certain things is sometimes tricky.
It's tough
because you don't exactly know where everyone's at.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So one thing I've gotten better. And not to cut you off, one thing I always like, whenever somebody asks for, I always just make sure I'm like, listen, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Take it for what it
not
is.
at all.
You know, like I always try to make sure I throw that in either in the beginning or the end, because I don't want to come off as arrogant or somebody who thinks he knows it all. I'm just like, yo, this is like my opinion.
Especially if it's someone struggling with something. You know, you're like, dude, I show you things, like I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like things get hard. Like we all have emotion. You know, we all, we do the best we can, but it's like we're all on this journey, man.
Yeah.
Like,
we're all human beings that have emotions and going through something. I saw yesterday on a bench at a bus stop, and it said, "Everybody is going through something." Yeah, it's so simple, but I was shit, man, it's really true. Like you don't know what somebody is going through until you ask the right questions, or you really take the time to,
like never undervalue one person.
Yeah,
like everyone's living a life, and they all have something to say.
Yeah,
whether you agree with it or you disagree with it. They all have something to say, and it's worth listening to, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's either going to reinforce your belief, or it's going to give you a broader perspective.
Yeah, that's really true. Before I get into the closing questions, this is when I reverse roll. I allow the guest to ask me any one question. It could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. 2 rules. 1, can't be a question that I asked you today. And 2, it can't directly be about the podcast. 1 question.
I knew this was coming.
I know people forget about it, and it's just it kind of like pops up and they're like, oh wait, what?
You know, I think I'm gonna stick with Let's stick with the theme, kind of like talking about, or like what's drawn on my wrist, like like Bobby, like what makes you feel alive?
Should have saw that question coming with the tattoo. What makes me feel alive? That's a good question, man.
It's very broad, but it's also very specific.
Yeah, it is. What makes me feel alive at the end of the day? It's like a mix between creating and making memories in a sense. So like I get a high off of doing things like this. I get a high off of like making content. I get a high off of like sitting down and having coffee with somebody that is super passionate about what they do. Yeah. But I also get a high off of like going to Venice Beach, or like doing stuff that like I truly love at heart. I think what truly makes me feel alive is being around these people like yourself, like truly purposefully driven, and doing, and like just experiences, like just like I think one thing that I'm trying to now get better at moving forward is experiencing the things in LA that I've always wanted to do, or like take advantage of it. You know, like I live here, and I feel like some of the tourists that come in here for a week accomplish more than I have in a year and a half. Right, I've never done Runyon Canyon. Yeah. I've like been up to the Griffith Observatory to pick people up and drop people off. Right. I've never taken a second to just park the car and go walk around, you know? So it's like, what makes me feel alive is just being present and looking around at the surroundings I'm in and the people that I'm around, and really like creating at the end of the day, like stuff like this. Like it's very you know, it's not visually like somebody like yourself might create, like a filmmaker, or it's not like audio like a song, like somebody might make something that you like can bump out to, or you can like vibe out to, but it's like I feel so alive just having a voice in the world. And I just it makes me feel good, because I've gained so much confidence in who I am, that being who I truly am, being authentically me, like connecting with people like yourself, living living the life that I've always dreamed of creating for the last 2 years. That's what makes me feel alive. Like knowing that it's coming to fruition.
So
all these things.
So is Bobby chasing every second?
I'm chasing every millisecond.
Every second.
Every second, man. Like truly. I love that too. Like every second. But with that, I think too, it's one thing that I'm like really good. I need to get better at. I'm going to say it here because I want it to be out there to the world. True. It's like chase every second, but also take time to just step away from whatever you work on or whatever you do. And I got to get better at that. Like truthfully, that's just something I'm not great at, but I think that's super important. Make every second count. But at the same time, and you can make it count by taking that step back and by breathing
all together,
because it's mentally for you. It's for your soul. It's like it's still part of that chasing every second. Yeah. If anything, I think it's setting you up to be better at whatever that craft might be, or whatever your passion might be.
I love it. I want to see that come to fruition.
I'll be getting a text from Mitchell in like 2 months.
Bro, when are we hitting Runyon Canyon?
Yeah.
Right?
Come on through. I'm like, all right.
Win the morning, win the day, right?
Yes, that's like my motto, man. You win the morning, you win the day. That's
Let's go running in the morning.
Might tat that across my chest, like underneath.
It's honestly really inspiring. Like you follow this man on Instagram, like every morning, it's like you see it on his story. It's like you win the morning, win the day, and I don't even have to think twice. It's like, oh yeah, I know Bobby's out there crushing it. It's
always crushing it. I think, but you know what too? It's like I think moving forward, I need to, even like listening to you talk about today, like I need to kind of step back a little bit and maybe not do that every day, because that's. How crazy is this that I think when I get to the gym, that's the thing. First thing I think about is like, gotta post this. Yeah. And I do it for the right reasons. I'm really trying to inspire people. Like I've gotten DMs from people that are like, yo, I'm fired up. I win the morning, win the day. And then people are now putting on their Instagram stories, and then they're tagging me and they're like quoting me. I'm like, what the fuck? What is going on here? Like, what is this? Yeah. So it's like, genuinely, I'm doing it because I'm seeing positivity come from it. Right. But I'm also like, to what extent is it really necessary for myself? Right. And do I need to be doing this every day? You know, I can't believe I'm even saying that out loud, but it's like, yo, that's literally the world we live in now. It's like, yes, social media is a thing. It is a platform. People like ourselves are trying to make a living off of it. So yes, of course I'm gonna be and
you're putting your life out there. Yeah, it's
literally.
That's what we signed up for this, right?
Yes. As a content creator, as somebody that is trying to build a platform, that's what you sign up for. The first line, are you willing to be authentically yourself? Because if you're not, just get rid of it. Don't do it. It's not going to work. Get out of here. Get out of here. Closing questions. Where can people find you on social media?
YouTube. I put all my big films. Mitchell Mullins. Instagram, Mitchell_Mullins. And if you guys want to follow along with the podcast, The Process by Mitchell Mullins on the iTunes store. Hopefully I'll get it up on Spotify.
I can tell you. I'll show you the tricks, but I'm not going to talk about it on camera because y'all going to have to hit me in the DM and maybe I'll give you the key. Yeah. That'll be tagged up everywhere. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure you go drop a bunch of bearded man emojis on his Instagram.
Let's go.
You got to. He has to know that
I'll be responding to him.
Oh, bearded man. Where that? Drop some bearded man. Drop some bearded mans. Before I ask the final question, thank you for coming in today.
Of course.
I really, I kid you not, I was very, when you had come through and we got into it, that first time you came through, I was just like, there was just like so many alarms in my mind going off, like this guy is opening up on something serious. Like he's like, holy shit, he trusts me. It was like a moment.
Yeah, I feel it too.
Just watching you from afar for like the last 2-ish months and really starting to kind of see your content and see like what you're about. And that you are exactly the person you portray online, I knew this was something that I wanted to cover. And I see the people you're working with, and man, you're gonna be a problem. Like if you're 20 right now, man, you're a great person for this podcast. Purpose in the youth, and I couldn't be more happy to have you here today. So thank you for taking the time to do this, man.
Man, I love that. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it, man.
Last question for you. Yep. For somebody that's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found that purpose just yet, what's the best 2 to 3 piece of advice you'd give to them?
Man, just start experimenting. Like, try something. Like, try sports. And just make new friends. Go make connection. Like, shoot an Instagram DM to someone if you want to go shoot with someone. Yeah. If you want to, like, I don't know, maybe like photography. Like, try making a video. Just switch your camera to video. Like, if you want to make music, just record something in GarageBand. Just do something. Yeah. And just do it and put it out there. And if it's bad, change it up. It doesn't matter. Like, find what you're passionate about. You know, we're talking about a lot of creativity stuff here, but like, it could be anything. Like, if you love, maybe you love talking to people that you don't know that. Maybe you're introverted. Like, give it a try. Just give it a try. You got one life. Yeah. Why not? Right? You're never gonna remember the things that you like. We regret the decisions that we didn't make, but we don't usually regret the ones that we did make. So, just go for it.
I love it. I love it. Mr. Mullins, thank you so much, brother. Pleasure. We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya. Peace.